Hi, my name is Leigh Pechillo and I am a heart survivor. I've been involved with the American Heart Association for over 8 years. It began when my son was a baby and had open heart surgery to repair 2 congenital heart defects. 6 months after, my father, who had heart problems all his life, underwent quadruple bypass surgery. And that's when my involvement really began. Our family began fundraising through the Hartford Heart Walk. I brought Jump Rope for Heart to my children's school to help as a fundraiser and to help educate the kids in the school about heart disease and what they can do to protect themselves. And I also started when my daughter was just 5 years old, taking her to Go Red for Women events because I knew it was important that as a woman, and as women we all focus on so many other people, but there was an importance to us focusing on ourselves and to taking care of our hearts. And I wanted to make sure my daughter knew that. So the fact that I am sitting here now and telling you I'm a heart survivor was something that I never thought would happen. I woke up on Mother's Day 2014 to my kids singing me a song and my husband making me a special breakfast. And as I ate, I started to get heartburn. And there was nothing I had eaten that should have given me that heartburn. So I was a little concerned, and I mentioned it to my husband, and he said, call the on-call doctor, see what they say. I called the doctor, and he said, well, it could be esophageal, but I can't rule out a heart attack. Take an antacid, and if it doesn't get better, go to the emergency room. Well, I couldn't find an antacid in the house that hadn't expired, so I didn't take anything, and I continued about our day. I was opening my gifts, and I just kept rubbing my chest. And my husband noticed that and said, you know what, let's just go to the emergency room, make sure everything's okay. I got up and went to get ready and collapsed in my bathroom. My daughter heard me fall and alerted my husband, and he found me on the floor and immediately called 911. After giving them basic information, handed the phone to my then 10-year-old daughter, and he came back in the bathroom and began CPR. Once medical help arrived, they came in, and he found my children in the corner praying for me. That's not something any mother wants their kids to ever do for them. Once the EMTs were here, they shocked my heart once to get it beating again. And they took me to our local hospital where they realized they couldn't help me. They stabilized me but needed to transfer me. So I was then life-starred to a major hospital in Hartford. It was there they determined I had a 70% blockage in my left anterior descending artery. But the location of it was so high up, so close to the coronary artery, they didn't want to place a stent. So they decided to use American Heart Association protocols for protective hypothermia and stabilized my body in an effort to get me to bypass. That was all on Sunday. On Monday I was doing fine and stabilized during the day, but by Monday evening I ended up going into cardiac arrest 3 separate times, and it took the hospital staff 13 times to shock me with a defibrillator to keep me alive. It was then the doctors determined I was not going to survive till bypass surgery, and my husband needed to make the call to allow them to place a stent in my heart because the most dangerous option was the only option. They inserted the stent in my heart and it worked. It was still a couple of days before I was up and remembering things and knew what was even going on. I was in the hospital for a total of 9 days and came home to my loving family who took care of me, and then went back to taking care of myself and got into cardiac rehab, and thank God I'm here today to share my story. I do want to continue to share my story. As I mentioned, I do have a family history of heart disease, and it was always presented to every doctor I had. I mentioned my father, but I also mentioned his smoking for 50 years, his poor diet, his terrible exercise habits. I don't know whether I was warned enough by doctors to really pay attention to that. And as a result, I became a victim of heart disease as well. As women, we're very different. And as women, we take on a lot, and we worry about a lot, and we care for a lot of people. But we can't do those things if we're not here to do it. So I'm hoping for the opportunity to share with more women my story, my cautionary tale, and help to save more lives throughout the United States. Thank you very much.